My name is Jerelyn Rodriguez. I'm the co-founder and CEO at the Knowledge House. I see there are a bunch of folks on the call today, and I also see that there are folks from the peer organizations that are similar to the Knowledge House on the call as well. So I look forward to having time for some Q&A at the end and just share reflections, answer your questions, and talk about the future of apprenticeships. So I wanted to just give a quick intro about myself. As I mentioned, I'm the co-founder and CEO at the Knowledge House, which is a nonprofit in the workforce development field that focuses on providing code and design job training to young people. I am also born and raised in the Bronx. I am an Afro-Latina from Dominican Republic. And I've been blessed to be recognized by folks like Forbes as a 30 under 30 in education. I'm on the boards of Creole College Prep, the New York City Employment and Training Coalition, which I think is important because it demonstrates how even beyond the Knowledge House, I have an interest in and passion in education and workforce development. And a fun fact is that I studied film at Columbia University. So I have a bachelor's in film studies. And, part of my story about founding the Knowledge House was, I did not get to study and then go into film professionally, right? So after studying film, I went into the nonprofit management field. And so I wanted to make sure that the Knowledge House provided job seekers with career pathways as early as possible, so that if they are studying a specific content area, they get to work in that area. And so my story has motivated me to start the Knowledge House. Another big reason I started the Knowledge House was because my co-founder, Joe Carano, who is our CTO, I met him 8 years ago. And, he had studied business at Baruch. And like myself, he didn't find the right career after college. And so he taught himself coding. He's a self-taught Python programmer. And I literally got to witness him go to a minimum wage job all the way to 6 figures after teaching himself how to code. So both of our experiences together, really helped us launch the Knowledge House. And next month, we're going to be 8 years old. So to give folks an overview of the Knowledge House, we were founded in 2014. Our mission is to close the education to employment gap for underserved people. We empower and sustain a talent pipeline of technologists who will uplift their communities out of poverty. So beyond job training, we want our technologists to stay in their neighborhoods, bring generational wealth to their households. And that way we are an anti-poverty organization. So you can see, that our vision is really to scale this model nationwide. We are headquartered in the South Bronx, where I'm from. And as I mentioned, we have 8 years operating the Knowledge House. So we are excited that, after several years, we're actually a national organization. So right now, the Knowledge House is operating in New York City, Atlanta, Georgia, Los Angeles, California, and Newark, New Jersey. And I will get into a little bit of our 3-year goals later on in the presentation. But as you can see, we are at a growth stage, right? So we want to increase enrollment of our job trainees each year. 3 out of 4 of our graduates land their first job in tech after the Knowledge House. We want to increase that to 85%. And we believe a lot in mentorship. We'll get a little bit more into career-connected learning, but mentorship, especially from industry professionals, is so key to a job seeker's growth. And so hopefully those are one of the opportunities that we will get to engage in. All right, so a little bit about our core programs. The Knowledge House operates 2 core programs. One is targeting high school students, And then the other is our traditional job training for job seekers. So the Innovation Fellowship is for job seekers that are interested in entering the tech field, either as a data analyst or data scientist, as a cybersecurity professional, a web developer, or front-end software engineer, or a UX UI designer. So our students get to choose 1 out of 4 tracks, and then they are in evening job training classes for 12 months. So it includes 9 months of job training followed by a 3-month internship, which I'll talk about. And then the second program is targeting high school youth. So, we've learned the earliest we can start with career exploration, the better. And so that high school level program provides summer instruction where students get to learn how to code, they learn about graphic design, they learn about UX, UI. And then the Knowledge House staff help them as they, access college opportunities, explore non-college opportunities, and get internships after high school. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what makes the Knowledge House different. So first of all, as opposed to for-profit boot camps and college, the Knowledge House is completely free. So we do not charge our fellows any tuition. On the contrary, we actually give them a stipend, which is a big part of our earn and learn model, which I'll get to in a second. We also produce assets that we show our corporate partners and our employers so that they get to learn the talent that we train. And so we have a resume book that compiles every fellow's resume with their LinkedIn and their GitHub included. We wipe out any college name so that we can help employers reduce hiring bias. And we've done this for 2 years in a row, and it's really successful in making sure that employers are actually hiring like our Black females before the other demographics that we serve. I'm also going to talk a lot about career exploration because it's a big part of our model. So we match our fellows to mentors, as I mentioned. We also have tutors who are technical and they support outside of the classroom. We have volunteers that provide mock interviews, right? So you don't have to be technical to support. All of this industry engagement really helps our fellows become more career ready. And so it's so important that that industry engagement is a part of any job training program. Something else that makes us different, other organizations that provide job training might only serve K-12 students or college students or folks that are not in college. Whereas the Knowledge House really is inclusive of all of these ages. I've learned there is not a linear pathway to a good paying job. When I was in college, I had to work, and most of the students at the Knowledge House are learning while they are in school, if they are enrolled in school. And a lot of them, most of them actually have stopped out of college, right? And so it's not a linear pathway, it's kind of like this. And so we find that if we have the high school program and the job training program, we can then really bridge that school to work gap. Okay. We also have a very inclusive model. Part of our recruitment strategy is to provide digital literacy workshops to our applicants, right? We don't want applicants to not get a slot at the Knowledge House just because they are new to tech or they don't have computer literacy skills. So beyond the job training program, we're super committed to just raising digital literacy awareness and skills throughout the community. And that's a way that we, increase digital equity. And then of course, our students are getting high wages as software engineers. We know that the software engineering role is one of the fastest growing roles in tech and one of the highest paid. So we like to focus on those opportunities because they match our fellows to economic mobility. All right. a little bit about our impact. So each year, we are very proud to recruit almost 100 volunteers that support in various ways. Um, these volunteers help with tutoring sessions, interview prep, career coaching. Um, Something that is very important about the population that we serve is that, an applicant has an average income of $14,000, right? And then after they leave the Knowledge House and get their first job, the average starting salary is 90K. So we're really, really excited about the Knowledge House tripling, quadrupling someone's income. For our high school students, 3 out of 4 of them do decide to study STEM, whether it's IT, computer science in college. So that's a win. And 80% of the 2021 class was able to secure their first job in tech. So as I mentioned, historically, the Knowledge House has been able to place 75% of our graduates in their first tech job. We do see that outcome improving over time. And so we're excited to keep improving. And then before the presentation, I just wanted to give y'all a glimpse into our supporters. So as I mentioned, we're about 8 years old, and we have been really fortunate to have corporate partners, foundations, government agencies support the Knowledge House and invest in our talent. And so now to the presentation. So I wanted to talk about apprenticeships because apprenticeship programs have been around forever, right? So we'll go into what the traditional apprenticeship looks like and what I'm observing, at least from the tech industry, because they are coming back, right? And they're trending again. And right now, a lot of tech employers are using apprenticeship models to provide on-ramps to non-college job seekers, right? So we will get into that. I think it's important just to norm on like definitions. So I actually grabbed these definitions from the New York State Department of Labor site, because traditionally apprenticeships are, government funded. They are a result of a partnership between an employer and the government. So a lot of these opportunities are also like registered. So you actually apply by going to the DOL site in your state, or the federal government also has an apprenticeships website. But the point of apprenticeships are to offer a wide opportunities to learn a specific trade while you are getting paid, right? A lot of employers use it to create a pipeline of non-traditional talent, which I hate the jargon. There's also a movement to use better language when we're talking about job seekers that don't have college degrees. But it is a pipeline solution so that employers have access to entry-level talent. And so that job seekers without a lot of work experience have an opportunity to learn, have an opportunity to be linked to an employer, and like they get income while they are studying for a certification, while they are receiving mentorship from an engineer, etc. Okay. If the solution is effective, right? So if an employer ends up converting an apprentice into a full-time employee, then the employer has savings, right? They get to know the talent that is coming in as full-time, and it increases work satisfaction, right? I think it's really important to talk about the earn and learn model, because that's what an apprenticeship is. And the earn and learn model exists throughout the sector and for various age groups beyond the apprenticeship programs that exist today. So earn and learn models can include apprenticeships, internships, and even career connected learning for youth. And so a lot of organizations or government agencies use on-the-job training, especially if they are referring to a job seeker that is getting paid to get a certification or a license. Um, Work-based learning is very, very inclusive of all of these types of models. And then career exploration or career-connected learning mostly refers to industry engagement for youth, right? Just like the Knowledge House knows that it's so important to start as early as possible with career exploration. Um, we all know that if you provide youth with employment opportunities as early as high school, not only not only does that make career exposure equitable, especially for low-income youth that need to work while they're in high school, but it allows them to explore different industries, different occupations, as they determine what their path is after high school, right? College, study X, Y, and Z major, or go to trade school, go to the military, etc. I wanted to cover just a few examples of the earn and learn models that are pretty popular. So I took this screen grab from the DOL apprenticeship site. And you can see it's a recent post. It is for a data analyst role. And what I want to point to you is that the pay, right, 35K to 40K a year, that's for a full-time apprentice, right? They are expected to work 40 hours a week. Often it is for several months, maybe a few years. And remember, traditionally apprenticeships target job seekers that do not have college degrees. Whereas summer internships especially are for students that are enrolled in college. So if you look at a screen grab for a summer internship for the same role, right? In this case, Cigna is hiring a summer intern to be a network data analyst. And you can see that the salary is a little more, right, than the full-time salary offered to the apprentice. And you can see this is the same location, same role, right? Hartford, Connecticut. You can also see though, in terms of the job requirements and what they're looking for in candidates, they're looking for the same entry-level skills, right? But of course, this opportunity is for college students that have a 3.0 GPA or above. Their preference is a computer science major or like a data analyst major, right? But you can already see some of the cons of traditional apprenticeships. They are lower paid, even though it's a great solution for job seekers that do not have college. And then here are just some examples of the work-based learning that's available for youth. So some of us might be familiar with the Summer Youth Employment Program. This is a government-funded program for high school youth and opportunity youth, or 16 to 24-year-olds that are out of school, out of work. And so the government pays them minimum wage just to work over the summer. I definitely benefited from the Summer Youth Employment Program in New York City. I know that this program exists in various major cities nationwide. And I remember when I was a child, Summer Youth Employment Program really placed me maybe at a retail job or a customer service job. But in recent years, the government, educators, and job seekers, the students themselves, they have been urging to be placed in more meaningful internships or summer employment opportunities where they are, learning on the job, where they are on track to get a certification, or they are actually practicing the skills in like a high wage job, right? So there's a shift, and we see more positive outcomes coming from the SYP program that has existed forever. But you also see a lot of innovation happening throughout the Department of Education, um, the uh, New York City has another agency called the Department of Youth and Community Development. So there might be similar agencies in like Philly, for example, that are providing these career connected learning opportunities. So for example, the Knowledge House gets a contract with the New York City Department of Education every summer to provide a program called Career Clue, right? And so the participants of Career Clue are high school students that are choosing to learn code with the Knowledge House throughout the summer, and they get paid to do so, right? So a lot of the Career Clue programs in New York City have the SYP model, but educators are strategically placing students in like these high growth sectors, whether it's tech, green jobs, the medical fields, etc. Um, Something else that is pretty traditional are like CTE schools, right? Career technical education. New York City has a lot of CTE schools, and very often students are getting credentials before they graduate, right? Um, that's another way that folks are doing like work-based learning before they even get to college, before they even get to enter their careers. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what earn and learn looks like at the Knowledge House, because the Knowledge House does not operate a traditional or formal apprenticeship program, but our instruction definitely follows the earn and learn model. For example, one component, as I mentioned, is that fellows receive a stipend throughout the course. We do not charge tuition. We actually give our job trainees $300 to $400 a month so that we can support with their living expenses. So in that way, this stipend is also not a wage, right? It is just to help them persist through the coursework. One benefit of stipends is that, there are a lot of programs out there that are tuition free. They provide job training, but they might not come with a stipend. And especially if training is provided, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., a job seeker who is unemployed probably cannot afford to go to that training program, right? Because they need some income. And so that's a benefit of having the stipend. Because our job training is in the evening, we do have a lot of folks that are underemployed. So they might have retail customer service jobs during the day, but then they're coming to learn at night. And so, especially if they are getting minimum wage at their day job, our stipend helps a little bit. Another aspect of earn and learn is that, our coursework includes a lot of access to mentors, access to tutors, mock interview prep, and networking. So definitely pre-pandemic, our students were required to go to tech events and collect business cards from all of the tech folks that they met. Now, a lot of these volunteer engagements are virtual, but now a lot of the tech meetups and experiences are also virtual. So one example of this is, every year, the Knowledge House, in partnership with Bloomberg, matches Bloomberg engineers to Knowledge House fellows, and then they build a product together, right? This meets Bloomberg's volunteer goals for their employees, professional development, leadership development, all that good stuff. But also Knowledge House fellows get access to engineers. They get to practice their skills. Um, and an outcome is that they get hired by Bloomberg, right? So we actually have our highest paid graduates working at Bloomberg currently as a software engineer. Her starting salary, her base salary is 170K, right? So that employment opportunity is a result of this career connected learning model that we have at the Knowledge House. Something else really important to us at the Knowledge House, because a lot of our students do not have college experience, they don't have, they can't put college on their resume, we think that a summer internship is so important, right? I just mentioned how traditionally summer internships usually goes to students enrolled in college. At the Knowledge House, we work with employers so that they change that requirement and open some slots for our talent that don't have a college degree. And we also work with startups and small businesses so that they get access to entry-level talent as well. We get to partner with, startups and small businesses that don't have a budget to hire because, we use government funding to subsidize compensation to the fellows. So another resource is called the Work Progress Program. A lot of nonprofit training providers utilize this funding so that they can successfully match their participants to employment, and the wage or who is paying it will not be an obstacle. All right, so I wanted to share 2 success stories with you all. Because as I mentioned, though the Knowledge House does not provide a formal apprenticeship opportunity, we have been really lucky to work with employers that are either launching apprenticeship programs or they are expanding them. And so a lot of our employer partners, while they still hire for full-time entry-level talent, senior tech talent, they are offering apprenticeship programs. So one learn and earn model is at Snapchat. So Snapchat has this SnapLens Academy program where they recruit college students or students from programs like the Knowledge House, and they enroll them in a summer on-the-job training program where students are learning about Snap technologies, AR, VR, they are upskilling on coding, and then they create a project. A very small percent of the participants of this opportunity get to work at Snapchat. But what's great is that those participants can leave the SnapLens Academy with a work portfolio, with extra skills. They have Snapchat on their resume, and then they can take all of this good stuff to their next job opportunity, right? So it definitely optimizes their job search. And then here is a quote from Camille, right? She says, "The Knowledge House opened me to a world that I didn't think was possible without doing college first," right? So that's the thing. Whereas usually companies like Snapchat are targeting college students for these entry-level roles, Camille was able to go to the SnapLens Academy without a college degree. Another success story is Shafi. So Shafi, he landed an apprenticeship at ClassPass last year. It was a 6-month apprenticeship program, and he actually ended up as a full-time software engineer at ClassPass. So he is still there now. He is loving it. And, this is one example of where an apprenticeship program did lead to full-time employment. Something else that I wanted to point out, often these employers, have the training in-house. So they are matching apprentices to mentors who are leading the engineering teams, or, junior technologists that are trying to develop their leadership skills. In the case of ClassPass, they actually partnered with Multiverse. And if you know Multiverse, it's basically online classes, right, that are accessible to folks. And so sometimes companies partner with an education provider so that the apprenticeship experience is sustainable, right? I hear feedback all the time that one of the challenges employers face when hiring entry-level talent is that they don't have capacity to be so hands-on with entry-level talent that is still learning, right? And so that's something that I've seen a lot. Google also, as part of their online apprenticeship program, they use Coursera to provide that cert training, right? So you are seeing that employers are partnering with education institutions all the time to make these apprenticeship opportunities sustainable, okay? And I just wanted to point out, these are only some of the employers that have hired our fellows in recent years. Okay, so we are almost getting to questions, but I wanted to um, conclude with pros and cons of apprenticeship opportunities, right? So we know the good things include providing a safe space so that job trainees can learn, um, securing an apprenticeship role at a brand name company opens doors for you, even if you don't end up working there full time. Apprenticeships are also, in my opinion, one of the most meaningful career exploration opportunities because it is linking talent to employers directly. And that's a challenge that a lot of nonprofit workforce development um, agencies and schools have when they are trying to teach these career skills. They want access to the employers, they want feedback to the employers, they want employer engagement, and the apprenticeships makes that happen. Some of the setbacks, I would say, are, there are traditional apprenticeship opportunities that have existed for years, but I do think this is a growing new trend within tech, right? So in the past few years, all of these tech companies have said, I know that my tech talent is not diverse. I have trouble hiring non-traditional talent because I'm always going to the same colleges to hire talent. So I'm going to try an apprenticeship model as a solution to my problem, right? A lot of companies are creating these opportunities in-house. Another con is that so far, I don't see that the majority of these apprenticeship opportunities do lead to full-time jobs at the host company. I do see that apprenticeships lead to full-time job overall, but not necessarily at that same company where you did your apprenticeship. I have been mentioning one of the cons, and I do think this is an equity issue. So I think my call to action to employers is make sure that apprentices are making the same as entry-level talent that is coming from college, right? Because at the end of the day, apprenticeship opportunities are supposed to be equitable. They are supposed to, match non-traditional talent to economic mobility. And if apprentices are not making equitable wage, a fair wage, then we're still not treating them fairly, right? And so that needs to change. And then something that I'll speak to in a second is that scaling apprenticeships seems to be a challenge for employers, as I mentioned. So it seems the most sustainable, or scaling apprentices seems to be most sustainable when in partnership with the government. And so I wanted to leave you all with a piece of current events from New York City. So just a few weeks ago, New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced a public-private partnership that will result in 3,000 new apprenticeship opportunities for NYC public school students and CUNY students. CUNY is the state-funded public college option in New York City. A lot of low-income job seekers turn to CUNY to just strengthen college and career pathways. So this is a huge initiative. I look forward to partnering with Mayor Adams, the nonprofits, and the employers that are a part of this, because it definitely will produce amazing results. And before Q&A, I wanted to just leave you all with next steps on how to get involved. As I mentioned, we are looking for volunteers to support students in their 12-month course. So we just enrolled the 2022 Innovation Fellows early this month. We are looking for tutors, mentors, volunteers, guest lecturers to come engage with the talent. If you are at a tech company and you know that your employer is hiring, please reach out. so that we can get our fellows matched to internships, apprenticeships, and full-time jobs. And of course, as a nonprofit, we always collect donations. So what is great about our program is that because we don't charge tuition, our donors get to impact that course directly, right? Because the students cannot get that stipend, they can't get free access to certifications without our supporters getting involved and directly investing in their learning and their, um, generational wealth. All right. So I'm happy that we have about 15 minutes or so for questions. I will turn to the chat, but I know Deborah's going to help me choose some questions. And then I'm excited for the conversation. Thank you all so much.
Yes, please let us know your questions. If you are curious about implementing it into your own organization, we'll be happy to answer some questions. But I think we have one that just popped in, Jerelyn, if you want to read it aloud.
Awesome. So question here, could TKH partner with another youth development platform to help funnel the kids in a given program, be prepared for an apprenticeship program? That is a really great question. So as I mentioned, I think that that career exploration is so important. And I think the earlier we start with youth, just having access to mentors, access to internships, then they will be ready for these opportunities. So when I was younger, at least when I was in college, I did see that a lot of corporations were hiring high school interns, right? And of course, a high schooler doesn't have a lot of entry level skills to really add value to a company the way that a college student does, or the way that an adult does after, 1 or 2 years of work experience. But that high school internship is a game changer for so many youth, right? Like they literally go in, they get to see a workplace, they get to have mentorship from career professionals. And so I think that if career connected learning is integrated into career coaching for youth, job training for youth, any type of learning for youth, then they will be prepared for apprenticeship opportunities, internship opportunities, etc. I also know that there are more and more nonprofits in the workforce development space that are opening up their programs to K-12, So I think most folks are on the same page that career connected learning is so important for youth. I think traditionally we have mostly paid attention to college access when it comes to serving youth, and I do see that changing. Okay, another question here. How do you handle participation challenges when participants who are not consistent because of competing priorities? That's a really good question. And because we saw, the first 5 years at the Knowledge House, we did have a lot of persistence issues with our fellows. Fellows have a lot of life challenges. And sometimes these are challenges outside of the Knowledge House control. And so we actually ended up implementing that stipend to help a little bit with life challenges. One example is childcare. As I mentioned, $300 to $400 a month cannot help you pay all of your bills. But for a single mother that is choosing to go to TKH job training or not, that decision comes down to childcare, right? After they come to work, after they come home, after their day job, can they hire a babysitter to take care of the kids while they are online or at the Knowledge House office doing the job training? And so childcare, homelessness, housing insecurity, mental illness, these were like the main barriers to completing the program. And, these are usually the cultural barriers to employment that our population faces. And so having that stipend, helps that single mother pay for babysitting so that they can actually attend the class, right? Otherwise, they would not be able to. So that's just one example of how we address persistence challenges. The mentorship helps, right? Because students are at the Knowledge House learning Monday through Thursday, 5:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. But when they meet with mentors on the weekends, their motivation goes up, right? They lose that sense of imposter syndrome they have, especially if they have a mentor working in tech that looks like them. And then often with this mentor, they go to hackathons and tech meetups on the weekends, right? And so literally that just increases their motivation. They are inspired to keep going. And so we try to wrap our fellows with a lot of supports in the classroom and outside of the classroom to help with persistence. It's a good question. Any other questions?
Great. I mean, if there are no other questions, we'll still keep an eye on the chat. But if there are no other questions, I just want to thank you, Jerelyn, for coming and sharing your knowledge with us. I know there's plenty of ways that our community can connect with you. So please, if you guys aren't already connected. Oh, actually, we have one more question that popped in.
Of course. Okay, what percent would attend the career fairs you recommend to them? I don't follow the question. Eamon, feel free to explain a little more. Career fairs. So we do encourage our fellows to go to tech industry events. A lot of these are job fairs. It is not a requirement. So students, do not have to attend a career fair to, how many of the pool would follow your recommendation? Let's see. Yeah, so to continue, it's not a requirement, but I will tell you, most students, so definitely more than 50%, probably close to 75%, actively go to tech meetups, job fairs to network, right? Because we teach them, even if you don't feel you are ready to start your job search, you need to network so that you are practicing those interview skills, you're practicing your elevator pitch. So we find that most of them do take advantage of these career fairs, job fairs. The Knowledge House also has a series of events in the spring called Meet the Fellow events. And so right now, these are online panels of our talent. And we invite our corporate partners so that they meet the fellows. And so in that way, we are creating like an in-house career fair opportunity so that all of the students are meeting employers, are pitching themselves and, advancing in their job search. So hopefully that answers your question, Damon.
Sorry about that. We'll conclude now. I know that we still a bunch of people have to go on to other meetings, but I would still love to get your feedback through a poll that I just launched. So if you're still available, still around, please submit the information in the poll. It's really helpful for us. And thank you so much again. This is really amazing. And it's amazing to think of creative ways to not only to get more people into tech, but also more younger people into tech, get younger people thinking about how, tech is for them and how, upward mobility is also for them as well, because I know for so many people, it doesn't feel like a possibility. We'll be connecting again next month, again for the last Wednesday of the month for our final workshop. So you'll be receiving an email about that. But otherwise, have a wonderful day and enjoy the rest of your lunch break.
Thank you so much, everyone.